The Steam Deck OLED hit stores November 16th, 2023. It has now been 2 years since then, and I've bought mine on day one. So I wanted to go over this video. Is it still worth getting in 2025? Now, I think a major selling point of the Steam Deck is obviously going to be its price. It does come in on the cheaper side compared to the newer handheld we're seeing. You can still get the LCD model, which usually retails for around $300 new. But if you do want to go a step higher, they do have an OLED version, which has the 512 gigabyte SSD in it. That one usually costs about $550. Now, if we want to compare it to the Lenovo one that just came out, that runs about $1,000. Heck, even the Xbox One at the highest price is $1,000, and their lowest one is $600. And same thing for the Asus and MSI ones. They're a bit pricey, so the Steam Deck does tend to be on the cheaper side, even if you want to go with their lowest budget one, which still offers the same processor as the newer one, just a smaller battery and the LCD screen and not the OLED. Continuing on that, the screen on the Steam Deck is, at least the one I have, is the OLED version. It looks absolutely beautiful. It's very bright, so whenever I'm out and playing games in the sunlight, I don't really have any issues with eyesight or anything like that. And I do think one of the major selling points to the Steam Deck is the battery life. A couple of reasons as to why that is. A lot of the other handhelds we're seeing coming into the market are running Windows 11. Now, I do know with the new Xbox handheld coming out, they're going to be making a specific handheld mode for Windows. So we'll have to see on how that performs battery life when that comes out. But as of right now, the Steam Deck usually dominates when it does come to battery life because it is running Linux. Now, that does have some cons to it. With the Steam Deck running Linux, it usually means that you're not able to play multiplayer games that have easy anti-cheat, or really any anti-cheat for a matter. So if that's something that you do care about, such as like Call of Duty or Fortnite, you're not really going to be playing those games on the Steam Deck. Now, it is possible to install Windows on it. Personally, I don't want to do that, but it is an option. And then the other thing I did kind of want to talk about is the actual performance of the Steam Deck. Now, obviously the Steam Deck came out a couple of years ago. We're seeing new processors come out, better iGPUs. If I had to put performance level for the Steam Deck, I would say it usually comes anywhere between Xbox One and PlayStation 4 level. So I can play BO6 just fine. Now, I can play Cyberpunk. I usually hit around 30 frames. But I did notice issues whenever I did try playing Marvel Rivals. I had to mess with a lot of settings to make it even a bit playable, but it did kind of look kind of bad, and not really worth it in my opinion, but it was, to a level, some sort of playability. Usually though, when you're playing games on here, especially with your Steam library, I've noticed a ton of indie games work amazing on the Steam Deck. Just recently I started playing Megabunk, which is a game similar to Vampire Survivors and Risk of Rain 2. I've been having tons of fun with that. And actually, speaking of that, when I'm playing games such as like those, the smaller indie games, I would say usually I get anywhere between 6 to 8 hours of battery life. Now, I do want to mention whenever I'm playing more demanding titles, like, you know, for example, Cyberpunk or anything like that, I tend to see usually around an hour to two. So that is something to be kind of aware of with the Steam Deck. You know, battery life is great on it, and obviously other handhelds are going to see similar things. As far as what I've noticed though, is whenever I'm playing those indie games, 8 to 6 hours, almost about a full day's of work, honestly, and you can get a full day of gaming as well. Now, a couple other things I did want to mention is the Steam Deck case that it does come with. It fits the Steam Deck pretty snug. It's just zip. It's got a handle on it. Really nice to carry around. I don't seem to be able to have any issues with it. Normally I can just toss it in my backpack, or heck, I even just carry it with me. So as far as portability with the Steam Deck, it is pretty good. The one complaint that I do have, and I know it's not as bad as other handhelds, looking at you, Lenovo, the Steam Deck is a bit heavy. Now, if you were to compare that to a Switch, it is definitely very heavy. Usually I don't have any issues with holding it and playing games or anything, but I have noticed that sometimes the weight does kind of come into a factor where it is on the heavier side, so I will say that. But with that, it is kind of big, which does mean it's comfortable to hold in my hands. As you can see, it has these grips on it, which even has back buttons. But one of the issues is being a bit big. Portability can be an issue sometimes. Like I said, I don't have any issues. But if you do have a backpack that doesn't really have a lot of room or anything, obviously a Switch is probably going to fit a lot better in it than the Steam Deck would. But yeah, overall, I think the size of it is good. I don't really have too many issues with it. It is a bit heavier than like a Switch would be, but not really much of an issue for me. And then, yeah. So to answer the question, is it still viable in 2025? I think the answer is yes. The Steam Deck has great battery life, great performance. Now, obviously, newer titles tend to struggle a bit more, but kind of do come into it knowing that you're not going to be playing the newest Call of Duty on it for 8 hours a day. So if that's the case, go get a PC or a gaming laptop. But if you're coming into it and you want to play an indie game or a light title here and there between work, between traveling, I think this does an amazing job at that. And I think the biggest selling point is the price point. For it to be on the cheaper side of things, especially the LCD model, which tends to go on sale very often, I think it's actually a perfect gift for anyone coming up, because I know the holidays are coming up. So I think right now they have like a sale for like 20% off on the LCD screen. So I think that's a perfect way to get somebody into gaming, or if you know somebody who travels a lot, the Steam Deck is a viable option. Battery life is great on it. If you do want to pay a bit more, the OLED looks amazing, and you get your entire Steam library working on this. So that's answered the question. Thank you for watching. If you have any thoughts or any opinions, leave them down in the comments down below, and make sure to like and subscribe, and well, thank you for watching. Bye.